What's up, y'all? My name is T. Shaw, and this is Brewin Black Podcast, where the contents we serve you is authentic, vulnerable, and relatable. That means we serve you with no cream and no sugar.
I guess I like my coffee black.
Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Scholar P, pronouns he, him, his.
And it's your boy T. Shaw, pronouns he, him, his.
And we want to welcome you to Brewin Black, giving you the latest in black news and entertainment for our intellectuals, our millennials, and those who like the news like we like our coffee. Black. How you feeling, T?
Bro, I'm feeling good. I'm sipping on this smoothie. I'm feeling real healthy, right now, especially with Omicron doing numbers. Health is wealth. Yeah, bro, I just feel good. I got to spend some time with the family over the break. So I'm definitely feeling revitalized. It was cool. I got to just spend some time with my stepdad too. He just retired from the fire department. He used to drive a $500,000 vehicle, the fire engine. And it's cool. It was just cool to really bask in, like, it was his moment, and I feel like he's a real quiet, like, he does what he's supposed to do. And I think it was cool to see him in his element and just see, like, people praise him and celebrate him. And they talked about how he was one of the best fire engineers in the city. And, like, I don't know, it's cool to see people in their element and see them do what they do at the best. So yeah, bro, it was cool. It was cool. And I'm glad to be back and on the show. How you feeling?
Yeah, man. Yeah. First of all, congratulations to your stepdad. It's a great milestone when you can like be celebrated in that manner, especially when you are not the one who puts yourself out there like that to be
Mhm.
celebrated constantly, right? So shout out to him. It was actually my stepdad's birthday yesterday,
Okay.
so shout out to him. And we went to Defy, which is sort of like a Sky Zone bounce place. Yesterday for the homie Tim. Shout out Tim for his birthday. So I'm sore, but for the right reasons. But yeah, I'm just coming back from North Carolina myself. And got to enjoy the time with the family. But I'm coming back very rejuvenated, and ready to really make 2022 something special. And we're going to get into that later and what that looks like. But I'm excited to be here and be with you and the people again, T.
Yeah. So before we get started, let's do our land acknowledgments. This is the land of the Gabrielino and the Tongva. This is stolen land. This is colonized land, and we will always, always, always pay those respects.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what we're about to jump into is our espresso shots, where we give you quick updates about what's going on in the world, even quicker opinions on what we think about what's going on in the world. But one of the first things that we got to do is, celebrate and honor the lives that were lost and the people that transition.
Mhm.
We it's been a couple of weeks and we've been losing legends. We have been losing legends. You hear me? So we lost Betty White and John Madden and Sidney Poitier. So
Mhm.
I know for me, Betty White, if nothing else, she was the golden girl, literally the golden
Mhm.
girl, having a career that spanned over 8 decades. And it's just the irony that she was really about to have a whole blown out celebration for her 100th birthday.
Mhm.
Is insane. And so shout out to her, John Madden. I'm not the biggest football guy, but I had my phase where I was playing my Madden stuff and this, that, and the third. And so this man was an incredible coach, broadcaster,
Mhm.
and just changed the way in which we see football and how it's covered. So shout out to him. And then finally, Sidney Poitier, you know what I'm saying? Legendary black
Mhm.
actor. And one of the first, I believe, it was either an Academy Award or Oscar.
Oscar, yeah.
Oscar. So just a trailblazer. So many of the legends that we appreciate today have been influenced by him, whether it's like a Jamie Foxx or a Tyler Perry, Denzel. Like so many great people that we love today have their roots in Sidney Poitier's mentorship in some way, shape, or form. So all of those legends, all of it crazy. T, what are your thoughts on the passing of these legends?
Absolutely. Yeah, I just want to echo everything that you said. They were all trailblazers in their own right. Betty White with the Golden Girls and living such a long and healthy life, and from what we understand is unproblematic life. John Madden, trailblazing, going from coach to broadcaster and bringing that knowledge. Not only was he coaching teams, then he came into our homes as a broadcaster and was kind of coaching us and teaching us about the game. And then also bringing Madden. Like that's a historic game, like that it changed how people interact with the NFL, and it's something that come out every year. And then Sidney Poitier, just like you said, he trailblazed for Black people in film. Was one of the first big major roles for a Black person on camera, and then won, just like you said, an Oscar. So yeah, just RIP, rest in power to all of them, for really changing and shaping the world around us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So one of our next espresso shots it has to do with Tristan Thompson, Mr. T T. All right, this man is now fathering another child from a
Mhm.
woman that he had an affair with while he was with Khloe Kardashian. But one of the biggest things about it this time was that he sent his daughter dozens of roses and put out an apology on Instagram because that is what you do, apparently, I guess. And so he's been getting a lot of flack from it because, it's not necessarily about the gestures you do. When you do when you misbehave, it's about not doing the harmful behavior in the first place. And it seems like this move seems like a PR move. It seems like a stunt. It seems disingenuous, and it doesn't feel like he there's any incentive for him to change his behavior. And so
Mhm.
it wasn't really taken well by the people. T, what do you think about it?
Yeah, bro. I mean, just him being a public facing, like, uh professional athlete, and it's like the reason that we know him is because of cheating rather than his actual actions on the court. Like I don't even know what team he played for no more. I know he played for the Cavs, and that's because I'm a Cavs fan, right? So it's like he made his reputation being on that team and being like the centerpiece and the rebounder for the Cavs when LeBron was there. But ever since then, it's like everything we know about him is a scandal. So it's like, yeah, man, he's not really relevant other than these things, and I think for me, it's like that's not something I would want to be known for. So it's unfortunate that we share a name in a way. Like understand that his is spelled a little bit different, but I hate when people talking about Tristan
LOL.
doing something bad. Like it ain't me. So
Right.
yeah, just get it together, TT.
No, no, I love that point you made. Look, fellas, fellas, we're talking to you. You don't want to be known for the scandalousness of your private life, man. You don't want to be
Mhm.
known like that. Like Tristan Thompson, he has spent his whole life probably, practicing ball. And now at the height, well, I won't say the height of his career anymore, but in this point of his career, for us to know all his private business instead of what he had dedicated his whole life growing up to, that's a problem. And I think that it's very easy for us as fellas and men to get caught up in that. So I think that
Mhm.
that's a great warning to heed. And speaking of wanting to make sure your professional life is not overtaken by your private life, we got to talk about Lamar Odom. And for those of you who don't know, Lamar Odom was talking about how he actually left Taraji to mess around with Khloe Kardashian. And for me, I thought it was messy because I didn't want to know Taraji P. Henson's business unless she wanted to bring it up or she felt so
Mhm.
inclined to bring it up. And I think that sometimes we as men we don't think about the ramifications of telling a woman's business, especially when it deals with us dating her or and being entangled with her, so on and so forth. And we've seen this from other people, like August Alsina. He brought up Jada. You know what I'm saying, without being prompted, probably without her permission. We had Drake who said he used to date SZA back in the day, and SZA unfollowed him because it's like, why would you put my business out there? I think that sometimes we forget that when when people are reminded of what a woman has done in terms of her romantic relationships, it can almost be like placing a stigma on her, making
Mhm.
her seem like, oh, well, I'm an entertainer and I mess around with a lot of groupies and women I don't take serious. And once I've mentioned this woman's name, now I'm connecting that woman to those groups of women that I don't care about, that I don't take seriously, that I don't think are worth a relationship. And Taraji didn't ask for that. So fellas, just don't be messy like that. Why kiss and tell unless someone else brings it up first? But T, what do you think?
Yeah, bro, I think you summed it up with everything you just said, but that last bar, I just wanna echo that when you said, like, "Don't kiss and tell." I think it was none of our business, it didn't need to come out, but I think also thinking about how this messily ended up with the Khloe Kardashian thing, to me, it says all this Kardashian curse thing, right? Because then it's like, we think about where Khloe's at now. So it's like mess begets mess, and just stay out of the mess, y'all. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Lamar is hilarious too because now in the midst of her going through all this stuff with Tristan, he's like, yeah, I think she deserves the world. She's a great
Mhm.
person. Like you could, bro, we could tell you trying to creep back in
Mhm.
slowly but surely. You saying, oh, we should be good friends one day publicly, but you know what you mean privately.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just messy boots 101 for me. But something that is a little bit more positive is that the killers of Ahmaud Arbery have both gotten life sentences, one with parole and one without parole. But T, how you feeling about that, man?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that justice was served in all of the ways, you know. The two main perpetrators, they got life with no parole, and it's just like, I don't really agree with the death penalty, but when something as heinous as this happens and we don't have any system in place, like, this is the most I can ask for, right? Like, we at least know that we can stop vigilanteism in some type of way, shape, or form. And then that last one that was recording, that also helped commit that crime. He got life with parole. And I think that's neither here nor there. But yeah, it's just, I guess right now it's good to see that, like, some justice was served. What about you?
Right, yeah, no, it's definitely a tip of the iceberg thing for me, America. Like this this is 101. Like murder, like people who murder and murder senselessly, without cause.
Without due process.
Right, right. This is the bare minimum of what they should be getting, and so while I'm happy that it happened, I wish I wasn't necessarily surprised that that justice was actually served in some way, shape, or form, because
Mhm,
there have been so many cases where the exact opposite has happened, and
mhm,
so what I'm going to be positive today, but I'm also going to say, all right, America, you've done it once. Now do it for the rest of the time. Now make it a norm. Now make it
mhm.
something that you don't think about twice. You,
Yeah,
you're destroy. You're being a terrorist. All right, we're going to give you terrorist like punishments.
yeah.
So
This shouldn't
that's
even be news, really. Like, this should be
really
routine, but the fact that it is still says something, and it's the fact that we have to kind of hold our breath still says something. So I just want us to continue to think about that, especially with this being 2022.
absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of it being 2022, T, what are some of your reflections of 2022? Let the people know like what you learned, what some of the challenges were, what some of your highlights were.
Yeah, bro. So actually, it was cool. Alex, Julius, and I on New Year's Eve did a nice little, like, activity exercise type thing where, and it was really on the spot. We just wanted to sit down and kind of set some intentions for 2022. But as a warm up, shout out to Dr. Hunter at UCLA. He used to tell us that we needed brain lotion, and that's what he kind of called a warm up. And before I could really set intentions for 2022, I had to reflect on 2021. So I kind of made a thing where it was like three things that you're proud of in 2021, two things that you want to improve in 2022, and one lesson learned from 2021. So I'll just share a little bit of what I had. So I had way more than three things that I was proud of, and I think that everybody should kind of sit down and do this because I think you'll be proud of yourself. But some things I thought of was just like supporting the people that support me. My friend Julius, one of my best friends, moved to Los Angeles, and it was wonderful to just be able to help facilitate that and help secure him a spot and having a really starting his career out here. I think that that was one of the more like, I don't know, it means a lot to me. Like to be able to put my niggas on, like that shit is cool. Even supporting Alex too. So Alex's birthday, she had a lot of tough times going on. Her grandmother had passed away, and the funeral was the day before her birthday, and then her dog died the same day as the funeral. So like later that night. So you can imagine how emotionally taxing that is, and that's right before her birthday. So I think it was just important for me to be there and be a good partner, be able to like help bring her birthday and really bring some light to it, especially knowing that we were in COVID too. Like it was early January, so people weren't seeing each other at that time. We were still in a pretty hard lockdown. So again, just being able to support my people. Brewin Black hitting 50 episodes was something big for me in 2021. I think about all those shows and all of the things that people want to do and the tensions that they set, but it's like things happen and stuff fizzles out. And I've seen a bunch of people start podcasts and shows and it stop after 4 episodes or 5 episodes. And it's like, shoot, what we at 73 right now? Like
73,
that's
73.
that's tough, bro. That's tough. So yeah, hitting that 50 mark really meant something. And then also just getting published. I think we've signed a contract to get our project published, and it's something we've been working on since like 2015, 2016. So yeah, man, it's just cool to see your work kind of come to fruition. Two things that I want to improve in 2022. I put consistency and organization, and that's just across my life. Like things that I say I want to do, I want to hold myself to it. And I don't want it to just be a few days. Like I set intentions and you be mean and good, but it's like, yeah, I want to work on my core, right? And then it's like I do it for 4 days and then I just stop. So I want to be able to stay consistent. Like I had a goal to read a book a month, and I think I read 10 books out of 12. I just want to be able to commit to that 12. I mean, it was 10 is amazing. I want to acknowledge that progress was made in a lot of areas of my life, but I just want to continue to be consistent because those 2 more books and those 2 more times I do something else, like all of those things can really continue to make me a better person. And then organization, I'm not the most organized. I didn't believe in it at all in high school. In college, I understood how it can make my life easier. Grad school, I figured out that that's what I needed to even be an efficient and effective person. And now that I'm in my personal life, like just making sure I make up my bed in the morning, do simple things like that. These little things, they make life so much easier. And then the one lesson I learned, what I had wrote down at the initially was that thoughtful and active communication can solve any problem. And I really love that because just last year was a very important time of figuring out how to communicate with people and making sure that things that I need to get done gets done, and how can I foster just good relationships. And I think communication is the one thing that breaks relationships all the time. But I do think that like even expanding that out a little bit, take care of the people that take care of you. I think that that's really one of the biggest lessons learned. Like being a genuine person and taking care of your loved ones and your support system, and just being genuinely kind and loving to just the people in the world, people you don't even know. Like that stuff come full circle. And I think that more than anything, it's important to know. So yeah, those were just some a little activity we did on New Year's Eve. What about you?
Okay, yeah. So I Well, first of all, it's funny. It's funny that I love your conversation about the organization and the growth that you've had over time, because I definitely see that in you. For those of you who don't know, I always talk about how balanced I feel like T Shaw is, and it's just a pleasure to watch that because it's just a constant reminder, which serves as constant inspiration. And so,
Agree.
and it's like, how do you be a great friend, a great partner, a great son, a great brother, this, that, and the
Mhm.
third, right? And so kudos to you for like really embodying that in 2021. And I look forward to seeing what that's going to be like for you in 2022. For me, 2021 was great. From the perspective that I got all but dissertation. I was
Mhm.
just talking with my friend about that. So many people don't know what ABD means. ABD means that you have done everything in your PhD program except actually conduct and write up and present your dissertation research. And so ABD is the last step before you actually do your conduct your research for your dissertation. So that was really, really great. And outside of that, I think that I learned a lot about something that I would like to call my algorithm, right? So when I say my algorithm, I'm saying when you are living in this world and you are paying attention to your experiences, you notice trends and patterns on the things that work for you and the things that don't. So for me, it's I've really been tapping into my algorithm and trying to stay aligned with um, the things that work well for my particular algorithm.
I like that.
Right. Furthermore, I learned that it's okay to change your mind in an effort to not waste your time, in an effort not to waste the time of others or the time of the universe. I think that for me, I used to be like, all right, well, I said I was going to do this, or I already committed to this, so I got to do it. But sometimes it's okay to like change your mind or to have a change of heart and to realize that it's going to be better for you and other people involved if you make the decision that fits you best at that particular time. But then I think my last part of 2021, I think that um, I stretched the limits of my moral and ethical range, and not in the ways that I'm the most proud of. I feel like the first 6 months of 2021, I was I was I was sort of living frivolously with my morals and my ethics. And I think
Mhm.
that on the latter half of 2021, everything, all the chickens came home to roost, which was great for me in the sense that I got to think about who I had become and what I wanted to be moving forward, right? Because some of those, sometimes, when you're operating in the world, you have to be okay with the fact that you're going to be the villain in someone's story or you're going to be the jerk in someone's story, and you got to deal with that. You got to be okay with that, and you can't blame yourself or wallow in that. You got to keep pushing forward. Kevin Hart was talking about how the sun does not care what you went through or what you're going through. It's still going to rise. Time is still
Mhm.
going to continue to move forward. And so for me, it's like no matter what I've done, no matter who I've hurt, no matter who has hurt me, is the summation of my life going to make me look back and say, hey, well, at least I got it together. At least I pushed forward. At least I realized my best self. Or is the summation of my life going to be like, oh, I made this mistake. Oh, this person hurt me. Oh, I'm gonna stay connected and indebted to my triggers. Oh, I'm gonna continue to lash out. It's like, no, I learned this year, and
Mhm.
now I'm moving forward based on my algorithm, based on this idea that life will not stop, it won't stop. So you better figure out your puzzle, like Kobe was saying. You better figure out your puzzle and keep it moving. Like I know I'm bringing up a lot of people right now, but Jamie Foxx had this quote which was genius. He said, "You got to play life like the hands that you were dealt were the ones that you
Mhm.
wanted." So that's the energy I'm bringing into 2022.
I love that. I love that quote always.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, yeah, man. Shout out to all of you who have New Year's resolutions, but also realize that you can set the restart button at any time.
Mhm.
If you failed on January 2nd, it's okay. Life is gonna keep moving. You keep moving. You figure it out because you're gonna learn through failure if you're doing it the right way. If you're going back and you're like, all right, what went wrong? What went right? All right, let's run it back. I
Absolutely.
was 2021 humble my ass, but I'm back. I'm
Yeah,
back, fam. Stop playing
absolutely.
with me.
And
So,
and it's never
uh,
too late to sit down and reflect neither on like, so say you missed it on December 31st, like, you still got time. Like, I think that we wanna use this segment to encourage y'all to be reflective, to be introspective, to really think about what are your goals? How did your last year go? What are your intentions for this next year? And you can do that in February, you can do that in March, you can do that on your birthday. I just want y'all to take the time to really actively think about yourselves and, like, who do you wanna be? And who are you now? And what do you need to do to get to where you want to be? I talk to my students and tell them this all the time. So, look, this is a little assignment for y'all. Let us know.
absolutely, absolutely. So, with that being said, today, man, we're about to get into it, but there's been a lot of craziness being said and done
Mhm.
since we last tapped in with y'all, man. And we're gonna get right into it with something that we like to call our light
Bro.
roast. And basically what that is when we critique someone or something in society. And we try to do it with love. And that's what we might need to have for these brothers and sisters today, because y'all, this podcast called the Fresh and Fit Podcast, they're saying some reckless things. Now, you can argue that they're saying reckless things for moments like this where other people have to like discuss their stuff, but they're just better ways to go about it. They are and T-Shaw has a clip that he's going to provide for us, but these men are talking about their preferences, and they went viral for basically saying they are not down with the brown with black women, and that they explicitly do not prefer them. And so, T, I want to know what your opinions are even before you share the clip.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important for us to kind of tap in and to see what they were really talking about, because I think that a lot of those clips went viral, and they didn't have a lot of context around it, but they were bad on the surface. Like, they said they don't dabble in the dark, and these are black men, or at least what appears to be black men. One is clearly black. I think the other one is Sudanese. That he might like have some Arabian, like some type of like ethnicity a part of that. But yeah, they've talked about how they're not down with the brown, and how they don't see themselves with black women, and that's just their preference. So I think it's important for us to like really break that down and talk about why that is racism and why that is anti-blackness, and how like preference can fall into those things. And it's not just a preference. A preference is like, oh, I like this over this, but I don't hate this because of what this is. So I'm gonna queue up this video, and we'll have a discussion after that.
Why?
Me personally, my first girl that I ever had sex with was white. So to me, it's like, okay, cool. That is what I'm used to. And then from there, I was in Barbados, and a lot of tourists come to the islands. That's what I'm used to. So to me personally, it's like, I just prefer because that's what I'm used to. It's not because I hate black women. And mind you, my mom would always be like, yo, Walter, why don't you bring a black girl home? It's because I don't want to. It's not I hate black women. It's like I just don't want to. So that's my preference.
You were chasing
Okay,
your
let
first love.
let him explain
go.
why he don't prefer black women. I'm just curious.
No, it's fine.
I like that.
With all due respect, I don't have to explain myself.
Okay.
I'm just gonna keep it like that. Like,
Period.
Like just like no one questions a woman when she says I like this and that. We respect it.
It doesn't matter why.
I don't think any man has to explain himself when it comes to his dating preferences. It's only when certain minority groups are mentioned, etc. If I said I don't fuck with white girls, no one would give a fuck.
I would ask you
That's
why.
the reality.
Yep.
And I would give you the same
But
response.
I do think.
Okay. So what were your initial impressions?
I think, and I got good friends who sort of feel this way, and not necessarily in terms of what their preferences are, but this argument about preferences. So let's debunk some things, guys. So first of all, that one of the podcast hosts was talking about how, like, he doesn't have to explain himself when it comes to preferences, and of course you don't have to explain yourself. But one of the tricks that a lot of men get caught up in is this. Oh, let me be more explicit. Black men get caught up. We as black men get caught up in is thinking that preferences aren't rooted in something. Like, you don't just prefer anything out of nowhere. There are reasons for it. I've seen some clips about them going around where they talk about, if women say they want a tall guy, or a guy who's a certain skin tone, or a guy who makes this much money, no one bats an eye. And that's actually not true. I've actually been in a lot of different social circles where men do complain about women wanting and having those preferences. And in those cases, women have those preferences for a reason. And I think that when you say, hey, look, I like white girls, or I prefer Latinx girls or Asian girls, but I do not prefer black women, and you're explicit about that in particular, it's coming from somewhere. And maybe maybe your first girlfriend was white, but if your second girlfriend was white and your third girlfriend was white, and like like no one woman is better than the other, then there's something about the whiteness or the culture or something that you gravitate towards, and you got to be able to say that. So I know for me, let me be explicit. Like, I prefer black women explicitly, And but the reason, and I'm not in denial that my preferences are rooted in something. Now you can say whether that's problematic or not, but for me, I like black women because I feel like black women can understand me culturally. I feel like I can talk about race explicitly and not have to worry about them not understanding or questioning the validity of my concerns as it pertains to race. I think that there's something cultural. There's certain cultural expectations, right? That like I might have to explain to someone who was not black. I like to be in very, very pro-black spaces all the time. So, and I don't, and a lot of women who are not non-black might not feel comfortable always being in black spaces. But I can say those things comfortably because it actually makes sense. What happens is that a lot of a lot of brothers who's like, no, I just don't prefer black women. They can't admit or they're scared to admit that there's something deeper. So you think black women act a certain way, or you think they stand for something in particular, or maybe you don't necessarily vibe with black culture, but it never just stops at this idea of a preference. And I think that that's what these men are missing. And I think that it would have made for a much better conversation if they really tried to dig deeper and extrapolate, well, why do I not like black women, but then also as important, why do I feel comfortable with a white woman? Because it's not just about sleeping with somebody, because you can sleep with women of all sorts of races allegedly. Don't ask me how I know, but but it's not impossible to do that. So now we have to think about why do you find yourself having that trend and pattern of a certain type of woman, and extrapolate that from yourself, because that would have made a much better podcast conversation.
Absolutely. And I love that you say that, because even the black woman that posed the question, she was asking why. And it's like they refuse to engage with that question. And that's the biggest part. Like, because everybody has a reason. Just like you said, it's like you choose to love black women and you want to be with a black woman for very specific reasons. And me too. Like, I've dated a white woman before. But mine is it's a political choice. Like, I understand now it is a political choice to love a black woman, because one, I know that some brothers don't, right? And I think that the other thing is that, like, just like you said, like, I know that they will understand me. They will understand my struggle. They will understand my thoughts and my experiences, and all of those things, they mean something to me. That's home. And I think I can't get that anywhere else. And they refuse to do that work. They refuse to unpack. And I think that was the most frustrating part. And the fact that they kept bringing this preference conversation up with, like, oh, well, women want someone that is wealthy, and they want someone who is this certain height, and they want a man that's this and that. So I can have a woman that's only Latina, or I can have a woman that's only white. And it's weird that is the thing that they equate with the thing that women are asking for. Like, if you said that you only prefer women that are 5'5" and taller, or 5'5" and shorter, or I love a thick woman, or I love I like a woman with assets rather than a chest, right? You feel me? Like, those are preferences, right? But when you start to really to I guess discriminate against a whole race of people based on, like, stereotypes, then that's where it really comes down. And I think that was the thing that we saw in the viral clips. They were talking about how they don't want no Bonquisha or no Laquita, and they would never use the black app, and black girls are ratchet and loud. And they were talking to one black girl that was like, oh, well, you just so much different than the other black girls that we've talked to, so, like, you cool but not them, right? And when I did some research, I looked into this one. There was a research study done about 2015 by I think, like, something Cupid, right? And Times even reported on this. And dating experts see that that these preferences aren't really preferences, and they often are rooted in some type of racial discrimination, and it's based on stereotypes. And I think that when we think of these stereotypes, I think it's important we tap in with bell hooks and think about Ain't I a Woman, because that she talks about the construction of, like, a black woman's identity, that social construction of it. And then also lack of representation. Like, just like you said, like that man, he's from the Barbados. He needs to think about why. Like, you were in a black country, but you were only chasing after white women. And you're like, oh, that's just what I like. And that's what you tell your mom you like, and you don't want to bring a black woman home because you used to white women. But why are you used to white women? Because of the media that you're consuming, and that you're chasing after these tourists, these people that are probably fetishizing you. They just want to get their rocks off on the island. So like, let me dabble with a black man. And it's like, but you have a whole island and country full of black women and you don't value them. Like, that's crazy to me, dog. That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? So one of my one of my really good friends back home, he's now we sort of we disagree here with this term I'm about to use, but he is team white girls, and he claims it, and he's unapologetic about it. And I think I mentioned him on the show before, and a lot of black women rock with him because he's very honest and blunt. You know what I'm saying about it. Now we might have different preferences, but he says what it is, and he's explicit about it. And so going back to what you said, T, it's like when you discriminate against a whole race of people, that means that you're putting the people in a monolith. And if they're not a monolith, then that means that you've had certain experiences with them that you are mapping and now projecting onto all of the people within that race. So it gets very, very tricky. And just like the guy from Barbados was saying, it's like, you might also identify with white culture in a way, in a sense, and just say that. Like, I can respect that a lot more. Like, hey, I do a lot of things that I don't see as many black people traditionally doing. I listen to a lot of music that and when I'm in these spaces or enjoying these activities, it's white people that are usually around me. I feel comfortable with that space. So I don't feel as cautious or anxious about dating a white girl. I think that's a much deeper conversation that we could have, and it could actually be fruitful. Right. So I think that that's something that we have to consider, extrapolate from yourself, really understand why you like what you like. That's a part of your algorithm.
And it's not just you too, right? So if you fit into this pattern with a bunch of other people, then it has to be something at play, right? So Time also just did another study recently, and it was looking at the article was called "That Men Are More Likely to Be Single Than Women." But when I looked into it, it was even more shocking, because for black people, we are more likely to be single than any other race, but black women overall. So black women are single at 62%, and that's more than any other sector. And then when you combine that with other research looking at that Asian men and black women are the least desirable demographics in the world, and this is information that they're pulling off of dating apps, and where they're having people rate these people on these different apps, and Asian men and black women are getting a point to a point and a half less than any other race. There's something up right there. And I think that if we're unable and we're unwilling to unpack those things, then we'll just think oh, well, people just aren't attracted to them. But why? Why? Because historically we've been taught not to, right? So we've been taught to devalue these people. And I think that that's the most important thing, and that we have to know that racism and stereotypes is at play. And if we aren't willing to accept that for ourselves, then we have so much more work to do. And it becomes oh, I just have a preference. But if you only prefer Mariah Carey over a black woman, right? Or you only prefer Angelina Jolie or Julia Fox or whoever these white women are over Serena Williams, over Megan Good, over these black women, then we have to be able to interrogate why. And we know that colorism has to be, color and featureism are at the root of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. So I think that brothers really have this conversation because it's not out of nowhere. And even if you feel hey, I wasn't trying to become this way or have this preference, well, then that's even more of a reason to question everything that's going on around you. Because we're talking about blackness versus other races, but like even if you prefer Beyonce looking women to Jasmine Sullivan looking women, you know what I'm saying, right? Like I realized that a lot of the TV and stuff that I grew up watching that I loved, it was like lighter skin, curly hair women who were at the center and the forefront, which is fine. But like when I think about having children, like I don't want that to be the only representation of beautiful blackness that they see, right? Or mainstream blackness that they see. And so it's just so multi-layered, right? But something else that happened on that podcast, which is also very multi-layered, was the use of the N word by non-black people on the show. And there was basically this sentiment of, you know, we as black people, we take the use of that word by people who are not black way too seriously. Slavery was hundreds of years ago, so we need to sort of get over it and relax. T, I think you have a clip for the people, but do you want to give any more context?
Yeah, no, I think you gave enough context. I'm gonna play this video, and then we can kind of discourse about it.
How do you guys feel about me being light skinned, saying the word nigga in a not see, I can't, I feel even uncomfortable even saying it right now because of like bro, literally when you said it I was like, finally, like she feels me, like bro, I mean it as
bro,
not just that. Half the songs we listen to, literally like conversations. So people started saying like, oh, you need to know the history about it. All right, I'm Jewish. All right, if you guys know a little bit about history,
you're white.
I'm Jewish Hispanic actually. Hola, ¿cómo están? Hablo español. Vayamos a la plaza, tomémonos un mate. Okay, like bro, I am not white. You guys are all racist literally because you saw me as white skinned, bro. Whoever made those comments about me saying nigga, bro, nigga, you fucking racist as shit, not me. All right, so literally. Because I am a certain color, I literally am not allowed to say a whole fucking word.
And like, it's not even that.
But what are you saying?
My point isn't even about the word, isn't about the fucking. It's about literally. It's because it's about colored people. Like why? We're all human. We're fucking human.
Bruh, it's so frustrating. It is so frustrating. Let me see if I can cue up this other one.
Racist ass white people.
But do you realize that can be a little bit more personal for you? You personally went through something. Now we all have to walk on eggshells because you went through something.
Walking on.
It's a word, baby girl. It's just a word.
It's not. It's
literally
not.
just a
But
word.
it's not. But it's not just a word, and that's
Let
the
it
point.
go. If I'm saying, hey nigga, pass me the fucking salt.
Let it go.
I'm not saying, hey man of color, because I can be saying it to a white guy.
Like, are you finished or no?
I wasn't. But
yeah, no, please finish.
Yeah, bro. It gets very frustrating. It gets very frustrating. But do you have any initial thoughts?
Yes. So let me see. I would say that, you know, when you think I think Mark Lamont Hill, shout out to Dr. Mark Lamont Hill. He always started by saying, you know, it's not about whether you can use the N word. You have to ask yourself why you want to use it when you're non-black. Like, what are you trying to get at when you say the N word? Like, are you trying to be connected to black people more or hip hop culture more or this, that, and the third? Because there's nothing you can do to ever bridge that type of gap or to ever be that close to me to where you should feel comfortable saying that. Now, with that being said, I also grew up in the South, and like it wasn't white people saying this to us, but we had non-black people saying the N-word, and like back at home in the South, we didn't really think nothing of it. It was like, oh, you good as long as you're not white. And so when I got to California, I was like, oh, there's a thing where like no one who is not black says it, and that is the thing. So I think that like there's been evolutions for me and how I think about the word. And now like when my non-black friends say it, I sort of cringe. I'm like, ooh, that feels a little bit more bizarre and strange. But I think I would start off by saying, why do you want to use it? Why do you feel the need to use it? Because like any of us can say any word, but like I don't like using the B word. You know, I could. I don't like using I don't like using the F double G word. I don't feel I will never feel that that's a term of endearment, right? So like, I can use whatever word I want to, but once again, like extrapolate from yourself. Why do I want to use the word so bad? And like, why do I get so upset with someone telling me that word makes them and a lot of people who identify with them uncomfortable? Why do I still feel the need to be like, oh, I'm going to say, you're not going to stop me from saying it? And so I think that's where I'll start with that. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was particularly frustrating because they don't understand these terms, right? It's like how they were misusing preference and they don't understand how racial implications and discrimination plays into that. It's like this woman who is clearly white, like let's put this down in stone right now. Like race is a social construct, but race is not synonymous with ethnicity. This woman was, yes, she was Latina and Israeli, right? Okay, cool. But when we're talking about race, race is often phenotypical. Race is what you see. It is the features you see. And the first thing that people think of when they think of race is your skin color. That woman was white. She's white. And you're white until you open your mouth. Yeah, you can speak Spanish and you can speak Hebrew. But to anybody else on the surface right there, you are white. That is your race. Now, when we talk about ethnicities, yeah, you are Latina and I don't know where she hails from, and you are Israeli. And let's also talk about like Jewish. Jewish is not a race. And I think that we really have to put that out in the open too. It's like Hitler Hitler racialized Jewish people. That is true. Like because it's again a social construct, he took a group of people and racialized them and said they are the other. We need to get rid of them. But in reality, phenotypically, these people are white. These people are white in our 2022 society. Like, so when people bring up that they're Jewish or that they're Latino, but you're phenotypically white, you will still get those white privileges. And I think so saying that, because in this is just a clip, but in the main video, she talks about like, oh, we off your word, you can use my word. And it's like, no, it don't go like that. And this is why we need critical race theory in schools. This is why we need to have more discussions like this, because then we have people that are ignorant to what is really going on, just saying stuff. She says like, oh, well, it's all in the music, so it's racist for you to tell me because the color of my skin that I can't say this word. Like, no, you need to get your ass beat. And that's how I feel. That's truly how I feel. When she said, nigga, pass the salt, everything in me, I saw it in the black woman in the video. Everything in me, I really wanted to snatch her across the table and just yum, yum, yum. Because it's like, it was so disrespectful. It was so disrespectful. So, and the black woman in the video before that, she was trying to explain that, like, from where she's from, like, that's not okay. If it don't matter if you white, Latino, if you're not black, like, people are gonna look at you sideways and they're gonna make you look sideways because they're coming across your head, they're coming across your face. So I think that like it does depend on where you're from, and you need to be cognizant of where you're at and how people treat things. But just like you, like when I got to Idaho, like I didn't really care who said it if they were around me. Like I kind of believed in like the past, you know, but then it's like I got to the point where realizing, and you have to realize for yourself, and some people may not have realized this for themselves, but it's like, if you aren't treated like a nigga, there is no way you should be able to use this word. And it's like, for me and you, like, we understand the implications, like more in depth than most people ever will or could, you know? And it's like, for us to choose to use this word, like, that means something. It does. And I understand people that choose not to. I get it. But it's like, when you have no relation with the word, like, you can't make that decision. So yeah, it really enraged me listening to that girl talk.
No, for real. And I think that, to your point, I'll use the word because I feel like we're still treated in that way. And I think that in terms of it being used in songs by Black people, you know, when we think about hip hop, because that's the main place where it's usually being used. Like, you also have to think about the conditions, especially when we think about the gangster rap that was coming out of, you know, Los Angeles from the West Coast. It was like, these people were in horrible positions, and it really was like you could walk outside and get killed, or it really was the police were going to kill you or beat you within an inch of your life. Like you were actually getting treated like the N-word, right? And I love what you said about her, just that whole white passing thing. There's no such thing as white passing. Like if you look white, you're white. You're white. Like it doesn't, because it's about the perception. That's what saves you, or that's what endangers you. That's what makes you a target, or someone who is loved and revered. And so I think that when we think about the N-word, there are so many ramifications, and it's like, once again, like I have never had to deal with anything that the LGBTQIA community has had to deal with, so I would never use the F word. Like that's not, like I can't. There's no endearment. Oh well, what if gay people say it to each other? Well, yeah, let them say it to each other. Or I try not to use the B word, because like I know what that means when a guy says, "Yo, this B was lying," or this, this, that, the third. Like there are ramifications. Yeah, there are ramifications for these words, and it's like no one is saying that you can't say it. We're saying that you shouldn't want to. You shouldn't want to. Right? Like it shouldn't be that big of a deal to you. It's like, okay, like, yeah, like if someone's father passed away from like a shooting or something like that, you wouldn't make jokes about bullets. You can, but why would you want to? Like obviously something triggering. You're not gonna make jokes about guns. You're not gonna make jokes about homicides. Like it's stupid. But like people want that power so much to say that word, and it's like, look into yourselves and be like, why? For real.
Big fact.
I think that's something that's where I'll leave it for myself. Like, ask yourself why it matters to you to be able to say that word, because there's a power in that word, and for you to want to say it, even though people are telling you it hurts their feelings or it makes them uncomfortable, means that you want to have the power, hold that power to hurt.
Absolutely.
So
and it's just it's lacking like any like human, like, I don't know, feeling for somebody, and it's coming from just ignorance. Like you have a lack of information. And Jill Scott said something in a video about 2 years ago, and she was talking about visiting a plantation, and I think it was super important for me to see that, because she was talking about how they would turn it into a bed and breakfast, and at the end of it she said, y'all would never allow them to turn Auschwitz into a bed and breakfast. Chew on that. And I think that comes full circle with this woman talking about, oh, she's Jewish and she's Latina. It's like, you would never want that for your people. So how can you dictate our pain and suffering and how we deal with that as a community? And yeah, I guess that's where I want to leave it.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking about, have you ever seen the boy in the striped pajamas?
Yeah.
Right. So imagine, let's say the word is cookie crisp, and that's what they call folks that they actually put in fucking ovens. Now imagine if there was a genre of music associated with Jewish people, and they used the word cookie crisp. And now I'm saying cookie crisp. I'm saying, I'm black though. It's cool. It's cool. My people had slaves. It's cool. Cookie crisp. Fam. What? Why would I want to say it? Why would I? Oh, y'all say, okay, y'all can, yeah. Cool. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. So like stop. Just stop. Just stop. And ask yourself why. But with that being said, man, we're gonna move it right on along. And we're gonna talk about what's going on with Eric Adams and this debate between this idea of low skill workers, versus what they used to be known as essential workers. Tell the people what's going on there.
Yeah, and I wish I could cue this video up for y'all, but I'm completely frozen on my end. But the conversation really has to do with him calling low wage workers essentially low skill workers. And he says, my low skill workers don't have the academic skills to work at a corner office. And my pushback is that what does it mean to really be low skill, right? Because I worked at McDonald's, y'all, like, and I could tell you that's not low skill. I know a lot of people that couldn't do it, and I know a lot of people that crack under pressure that are in academia. Can y'all handle a lunch rush, taking an order, dropping fries, and changing the soda machine? Like, I don't think so. I worked at a hotel doing laundry and housekeeping, and those women worked hard. They spoke very little English, but they got it done, and they communicated. I had broken Spanish, they had broken English, but we communicated and we got what we needed done. And them were some of the hardest working women I've ever seen in my life. Right? They were cleaning whole floors in 30 minutes. That's not low skill. Not a lot of people can do that. I worked at a call center also, and this is all while I'm getting my degree, and this is like during summer or right after I got my degree, and I'm looking to go to grad school and things like that. And at the call center, like, can y'all call somebody in the middle of the day and keep them on the phone and convince them to buy something that they really don't want? So my question is like, what jobs are really low skill? Because I think skill sets are different amongst people, right? So is it really low skill, or are they just undervalued? And I think especially with Eric Adams, like, this is just his third day. That was just like his third day on the job. Like, it's just his third day out. And he already is kind of sowing discord with stuff like that. He's also trying to get kids back into school, knowing that COVID numbers are super high in New York City. He supports stop and frisk because he's a former police captain. So I think just knowing that, like, Black representation doesn't always mean Black power. I think that's one thing that I'm really getting from him right now. And it's like, yeah, it's cool to have. Yeah, I think New York City has one of the blackest, like, administrations ever right now. But what is that doing for people? It's not doing very much. And I want y'all to think about that. But also just the fact that people can go from essential workers, because the words we use matter. Words are power. And how can you go from essential workers to low skill workers? It just doesn't. Over 2 years, like, that doesn't really happen. So I think it's something important for us to really look at.
Absolutely, and it just goes back to what you say. Like, it's, if you can find a way to devalue someone and what they do and what you feel like they're about, it's the beginning of mistreatment, even more justifying even more mistreatment of somebody as well. And so we definitely want to make sure that we're very careful about how we use certain words when we're describing labor, because, like you said, I think that there's so many skills that are not placed on a pedestal that we aren't necessarily taught to value, but these people actually are the backbone of America. And we can have a different conversation, but, like, you know, some of these people that you feel like are stealing your jobs and this, that, and the third, our country's economy will fall apart without. So, like, that's a whole nother conversation. But, like, the way in which we label the people whose labor is the backbone of this country is sickening. And so don't be fooled by the hype. Yeah, right. So, but with that being said, someone who has been putting in work, someone who has done so much for their community, especially here in the city of Angels, Los Angeles, is none other than Issa freaking Rae. And we are now in a position where Insecure has come to an end. Oh my gosh. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. I mean, 5 seasons of Blackness, and we were talking about Blackness not being a monolith, and I think it's very important to think not only about Blackness, but in particular Black women not being a monolith. And I think that that's what Insecure showed us, right? Like, Black women have more going on in their lives than just relationships, like romantic relationships with men, right? They have their friendships that get weird. They deal with health issues with their families. They deal with, you know, postpartum. They deal with, you know, raising children with fathers who are active but still not as present. Like, and I
Mhm.
think that Issa did a great job of not only showcasing Black women and their complexities, but the complexities of Los Angeles, where it's not. And she talked about this in her documentary, where it's not just the hood or Hollywood. It's that great
Mhm.
middle ground. It's the
Yeah.
different festivals. It's the local businesses. It's the Crips and the Bloods who are
Mhm.
repping their set, but who are also raising their children. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's all of that, and I think that Issa put the map on her city in such a way, like it's, I would compare, I would like Insecure in a sense, and you'll appreciate this, with your Ohio roots. Issa having Insecure for LA was like LeBron bringing that ring to Ohio. You know
I
what I'm
like
saying?
that. I
And
like
we don't think about it, but like all the glory, all the business, like when Black people go to LA who have never set foot in LA, they go to the dunes. It's a
Mhm.
thing. Like,
It is.
and I was watching that thing like tears in my eyes, because I'm just like, your dreams don't stop. Your dreams aren't just for you. Like, and
Mhm.
I was thinking about it, T. It was like, if you're driving a car and you're on the highway and you stop, you're gonna cause mad accidents. It's not gonna
Mhm.
just be you. And it's like in life, when you're driving towards your destination, you don't have time to stop. You don't have time to look in the rear view mirror for too long. Because if you do, your ass is gonna get in an accident. And guess what? When you get in an accident, you never get in an accident. You rarely get into an accident where it's just you that's impacted, right? You
Mhm.
slowing down traffic, you putting others in harm's way. But guess what? When you drive into your destination, you are setting the path for everyone else to get to theirs.
I
Like,
like
fam. Like, I was just like, yo, Issa, she really did this thing, man. Like, I want to put on for High Point like this somehow. Like,
that.
damn, like, wow. And I think that's something that like really got me excited about Insecure, and also just made me sad to see it go. You know what I mean? But like,
Mhm.
that's me, man. What you think? What are some of your reflections about the wrap up?
Yeah, man. I just want to thank Issa Rae for 5 amazing seasons and bringing a show to relate to, right? Like, in a sense, it's like these were everyday people. Like, just thinking about the friend group, right? Like, everybody had varying levels of success, and it's the 20s and the 30s where people just trying to figure things out. And the fact that Issa was the main character and she didn't know what she was doing with her life. The whole series, it's so refreshing, bro. Like, because we see these shows and people got everything together, and she didn't have her relationship together. She didn't have her friendships together. She didn't have her career together. She was just trying shit, don't work, trying shit, don't work. And that's really what life looks like. And I love it. I love it. I love it so much. And it was just cool to see her like progress. Like, she went from working at We Got Y'all and realizing she really hated it, but also not really she didn't really put all of her into it, right? She wasn't as organized as she needed to be. But then she realizes, like, oh, I need to do something different. And she was the property manager at the apartments, and she was driving lifts. And like, these are things that people do as they're trying to chase their goals and chase their dreams and really find their way. We saw Lawrence, who was a deadbeat on the couch, really suffering from depression. And then we see him glow up to, yeah, maybe he didn't do his woo woo or the hoot hoot or whatever it
Yeah.
was called, but like, he ends up at a company where he is making great money and he can take care of his family, right? So, and just seeing like the block really just like prosper, and it just going from an idea to something major. And that's how I feel about this podcast. And I feel like that's what brings inspiration to me. Like, you can really just bet on yourself and continue to work and continue to strive, and it'll come true. And I think that that's what I loved, and that's what Insecure was as a project. Like, it started as like Awkward Black Girl, right? And it was a YouTube series, and it grew and it grew, and it now is done, but it has so many producers and directors and writers, and they're going on to their own shows. And just like you said, like, her path set so many paths for other people, and I just love that, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And for those of you who don't know, that segment was called our Spotlight, where we show love to someone who's doing something great in the community, in the country, in the world. And, it's something that we do to sort of settle out our light roast. So shout out to Issa. She's doing her thing. And look, man, shout out to everyone who was able to make it to 2022. I think that during the show, we've talked a lot about just reflection, second chances, and continuing to move forward, because it's not just about you. But with that being said, man, I don't got nothing else. Do you got anything else for the people?
No, I don't. I guess to close us out, you know how we say, keep the coffee
black.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all for rocking with us, and we will see y'all soon.
Hey, one more thing. Okay. And we like our podcast, because we got to say it today, especially today.
You right.
Because they playing out here.
Take us out.
And we like our podcast like we like our women black.
Yeah, that one is important for this episode. You're right. I appreciate that, bro.
I got you, bro.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all for rocking with us, and we will see y'all soon. Peace.